Everything school should have taught you in one place. With a property portfolio of over 17 million and an accountancy firm of over 16,000 clients, as well as being an accountant to some of the wealthiest people in Australia, Jeremy Iannuzzelli will be sharing his lessons on everything school should have taught you so you can build the life you want.
Take two with renovating for Paddy. It's a funny backstory behind this. Last time we tried to do this, Paddy, you were in Bali enjoying your best life on a holiday.
Yes.
After a well-deserved break, renovating lots of properties up in the Gold Coast. But I needed to get you into this show. I needed to get you on what school should have taught you because you've got so many valuable lessons for lots of people that are out there that are wanting to go down the renovating and flipping path. You know, I want to show, yes, the glamorous side of the things that you do, the beautiful houses that you create, the beautiful renovations that you complete, but also there's the hard side, there's the grit, there's the long hours, there's the time, there's the pains that you've got to go through to get to where you are today, which is, you know, renovating homes every year, multiple homes every year, and also you're running your property consultancy business and also the renovating partnership business as well. But Paddy Glennon, Glennon Properties, welcome to What School Should Have Taught You. How are you today?
I'm so good. Thank you for having me back after that last disaster and you gave me a second chance, Jeremy.
I had to make sure that you can't enjoy yourself too long in Bali on holidays. But
I know, I wish I was there now.
Today I really wanted to unpack a lot of things because renovating is on the tip of everybody's tongue. You know, so many people watch The Block, although I don't think The Block's been as good this year compared to prior years. But, you know, they make it look easy, they make it look fun and glamorous and very profitable. That's probably one of the biggest things. I see so many people go down the path of flipping properties because it just gets so sensationalized on TV that, you know, buy a property, renovate it, and you're going to make $1 million. But in reality, I actually see more people lose money on their first couple of deals and actually make money. And again, we've got to learn somewhere, and sometimes it's the cost of learning. But if we can do these things and learn from other people's mistakes and learn from the professionals, it's a great way for us to ensure some healthy profits. So before we get into the real nitty gritty, I would love you to share a bit about yourself and what got you initially started into renovating properties for a profit.
I guess I first started hearing about it when I was at uni, when I met Ben, hubby, and he had actually got his first property investment when he was 18. And I knew nothing about investing or that you could make money doing this sort of thing. And he had just an investment property. And I actually started watching these TV shows at uni when I should have been studying. And it was all property flippers 101 and all this. And I thought, that looks really interesting. And then that actually just procrastinating at uni coupled with what Ben was doing, I was like, oh, there's actually a huge opportunity here. And at that stage, I don't know if even the term property flipping was mainstream in Australia. Like it was huge in Canada and the States. But when I first came to Australia 20 years ago, I was like, we got to do this. There's a huge opportunity. And we just went into it together, I guess.
Started from there. So taking something from what you saw overseas that worked really well and bringing it over here to Australia. And I think one of the main things that I see I've seen your success in the industry is that you've really niched yourself into a certain area. I feel that so many of these property flippers, they're buying in Queensland, then they're going down to Victoria, and then they're trying to, do renovations in WA. But for you, you've really niched yourself in an area. Do you want to explain why you did that?
One, it's easier. If I'm doing something relatively local to myself, I know the area. I know what buyers are here. I know what they want. I used to, when we did our first, I think it was maybe our third property, I kept hearing people saying to me, like property investment groups and gurus saying, you're going to sell it and who cares if you would ever live there, and it's just a product, just go for it. And I kind of had that mentality at first, and it actually really stung us because I bought a few properties that I would never live in. And when it came time to sell, we learned that lesson hard. Like you have to make something that you would be, this is what I believe in, that you would be happy to live in, that it would have the fixtures and fittings that you would want in that price bracket. So there was that. I mean, we have 3 kids, so we have to keep it relatively easy and local to ourselves. And we've gotten into this niche at the moment where we're doing acreage properties where there's a huge price disparity. And that's one of the first things that we look at. And I think when we're following this formula that we've created over the years, it's a winning formula. So why mess with it? We're happy with it.
So it's so opposite to what we hear as property investors. Property investors don't buy what you would live in, don't buy close to you or in the same backyard.
Yes. Take the emotion out of it.
Take the emotion out of it. Invest invest where you can make money long term. But sounds to me like property flipping is absolutely opposite to that. It's you are wanting to invest where you know and maybe close to you so you can manage it. And a couple other things that, I hear all the time, I want to flip properties because I can project manage many deals at once, which there's a certain element of truth. But a lot of people forget that there is a lot of time, manual labor, and I know I've seen you in your boots and shorts and singlet before, getting involved and painting yourself. So first thing is, how involved are you in the actual production and building and renovating of the actual property as well?
Less now that we have more money behind us and more budget behind us. But I very quickly want to touch on that emotional part before we move on. Because if you're taking the emotional side out of it, you're forgetting that buyers buy and pay a premium when they're emotionally invested into a property. So the difference could be $100,000. If you make a property that ticks all the boxes, it's fine. It looks all right. It's been painted, new carpets. It's a bit blah, hasn't been staged. Or you think emotionally like a buyer is thinking, and now you're staging. Now you're putting fresh flowers out every time. Now you're making it smell beautiful. You're actually increasing. I am trying to increase the emotional intensity of every property I do, not decrease it. And that means that I have to step into that emotional mind. And usually it's of the woman, because I find the woman, if she's emotionally connected to a property, you're buying that property. Like if she loves it,
happy
you've got
life,
it.
Happy life, Patty.
That's right.
And I've heard you say that before. I've heard you say sometimes that the best margin you've made hasn't been by putting a kitchen in there, but it's actually been by staging the property the right way.
100%. Yes.
I've heard you say that you've made $100,000 by spending $5,000 on staging, as opposed to putting in that special cornice for argument's sake. So it's a massive uplift, and it requires probably the least amount of effort, which is pulling at the heartstrings of the
heartstrings.
Buyer.
Yeah. Like this property we're doing at the moment, I converted this old bedroom, and it was a tiny little bedroom. I converted it into the master wardrobe, and you walk in and there's a chandelier and there's an island, and it's all very inexpensive stuff that we're doing. But the impact is like, I know a woman's going to walk in there and be like, where do I sign? Where do I put an offer in? So I think to property flippers out there, do not ignore the emotional side, because that's what's going to make you that premium.
So emotion's key, and heartstrings. But coming back to the effort, and this is just really setting the tone for anybody out there that wants to do renovating for a profit or flipping properties. Effort. You said at the start there was so much time and effort you put in, and then obviously as you got into it and built up more capital behind you, it's more trade focused. But again, your advice for anybody starting, tell me about the time and effort you put in at the very first couple of properties you're buying and flipping.
Yeah, different story to what it is now. We would do everything that we legally could. Obviously, you're not doing your electrical, you're not doing your plumbing. But I mean, we painted every surface, inside, outside, roof, fences, did all the landscaping. We were literally working full time, then coming home and working till 10 at night. We didn't have weekends, like we were all in. So I think if you are on a tight budget, obviously do whatever you can. Like even still up to 2 properties ago, all of my furniture went from house to house. So the kids knew we were ready to sell, because all of a sudden be like, where's that lamp again, Mom? Where's that flower again? Like, if you have stuff at home, like bring it and stage it if you don't have, enough budget for staging. So, I mean, you have to get gritty, you have to get resourceful, and just find a way to make it work. And you absolutely have to put in
and that's
the hard.
That's the challenge.
Work.
That's the challenge for anybody that's listening. Again, when you're renovating and flipping properties, that you do need to be close. Many builders, and we'll use builders as an example. Patty, I look at you as almost like a builder, but builders aren't based in New South Wales and then building 30 homes in Queensland. It's just too hard to do that. They've got to scale and have an operation there. But for most flippers that are out there, if you're looking at doing this and doing this well, you've got to almost do it in the area or surrounding areas that you're close to or within a drive to, because getting on a plane, and traveling around hours upon hours, you're just going to find that the costs really start to build up. Now, Patty, I want to ask another question, and this is something that I get asked as an accountant, and I can't answer the question because it's not in my field. But, most flippers ask me the question, Jeremy, should I be putting in a granny flat, or, should I be using cheaper materials to make it look tacky? Am I flipping this for an investor? Am I flipping this for an owner-occupier? What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know if there's any instance that I would be flipping with the buyer in mind being an investor, because investors are, what are the numbers? What's on my spreadsheet? Black and white. So again, it's back to that emotion. Investors just want to know the end figure at the end of the day.
So buying a house and then converting a 3-bedroom to a 5-bedroom with pokey 2 meter by 2 meter room is a no-go.
Well, I just think it's more you can't ever forget who is your buyer. And I can't see for me why I would ever be flipping for an investor. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think there are any flippers target market, because we're trying to make that emotional connection, and owner occupiers pay for that. I don't reckon investors do.
And granny flats. So, because again, that's the question I get asked. Yeah. Jeremy, should I build a granny flat? Now, my experience is that when you're building a granny flat, you're lucky to get a dollar for dollar in terms of value increase. So have you ever built granny flats as part of your flipping strategy and again tried to sell it on that basis? Or is it just not really there for that connection or that emotional connection for a premium purchase?
That's such a loaded question. Hey, okay. So a couple things I would say. Where is this house? Is it in Logan Council, where you can build granny flats easily? Or is it on the Gold Coast, where you have to go through approvals and build process, which takes you into, as you know, a different category than flipping?
Now, for anybody out there, sorry, Patty, jump in. Anybody out there, context, when Patty talks about Logan Council and Gold Coast, that's obviously listeners all around the country, but Logan Council is a lower socioeconomic area, more synonymous for a lot of investors, a lot of renters, where Gold Coast now, especially the last decade, has become a very premium suburb, great social status, great location, but very expensive suburb. So the price disparity between your Logan and your Gold Coast could be $500,000 to $1 million in many circumstances.
Yeah, if not more. And the other thing too, I guess, is like, for instance, the last flip we did already had an existing granny flat structure that was dilapidated and disgusting, and like you wouldn't put your dog to live in there. But we made it so beautiful that it was a huge selling feature. So while I wouldn't, like you said, maybe it's $1 for $1 that you're getting back. When I'm thinking of my budget, I want to make $3 on every dollar that I'm putting in. So if it's $1 for $1, what's the point? There's no profit in that. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not enough for me. But if you have a market that will pay a premium for it, it's within your budget, it's within your scope, your capabilities, your timeline, why wouldn't you? But at the same time, I will say with that last one, it actually cut out a large portion of the buyers, because your price is going up because it's 2 homes on one block. So the price is going to be a lot more, and not everybody wants that much land and that much upkeep. Yes, they might want some extra income on the side, or I don't know, Airbnb or multi-generational or whatever. They might want that. But the lesson I learned from that property was I did cut out a large portion of our buyers, which we still got an amazing price. But I think if you can just try to build something that appeals to the mass majority of people, then you're on a winner.
Now, as a flipper, property flipper and renovator, how important, and I suppose, or what level of importance do you place on doing the market research on the sale side as opposed to the market research on the purchase side? And who are you talking to get that market research on the sale side? So I suppose the question in short I'm asking is the relevance and importance of knowing who your selling market is as opposed to trying to always just get the best price on the purchase.
Oh, I love this question because it's so overlooked. I think most people look at property flipping and they think, I just want to make it look good and I'll get a great return. No, you won't. Because my background is in marketing, I am always thinking about a product that I'm creating. I'm always thinking about the end buyer before I even buy the property. So before I buy it, I want to know who's buying it, how much do they make a year, where are they living, what kind of people are they, what premium will they pay, and then I almost work backwards. But at the same time, you make your money when you buy. So if you're going in and you're getting a great price, obviously there's a better opportunity for that return. But you have to always have that end buyer in mind. You have to know what it's going to sell for before you buy it. And then you have to compare what you think it's going to sell for with what's currently selling on the market. And if it's not there, you're not going to make that money.
Have you ever paid listing price or over before to buy a property?
No.
No?
No, I haven't.
Because that's an important thing to ask. Because see, again, you've got to make sure that you're, yes, getting the right price going in. But if you're not knowing who your target market is and doing the research on your target market, you could get the best price ever going into it, but no one's there to buy it. So you still need to make sure that you understand who your product 100%. Or your market is so you can sell it to quite easy. Like selling anything, whether it's, fidget spinners or glasses, the market will determine what they want. And if it's there, if it is, brilliant. If If it's not,
Yep.
find somewhere else. Now,
Well, perfect example. I found this house just quickly. I found this house. It was a perfect renovator, dirt cheap. I knew I could make it gorgeous and make it a good product at the end of it. But it had this huge electrical, what do they call it? Those high voltage power lines outside. And no matter what cheap price I was getting, of course it would have been the cheapest on the street, but it doesn't matter how beautiful I could make it. No family's going to live there because they're like, that's instantly deterring from the resale price. So you can't always look at just the numbers. You have to look at the whole picture, including what are you going to resell it for?
So again, the theme I'm hearing, and this is very important for everyone that's listening that wants to get into flipping, you've almost got to turn everything upside down from what you've learned as being an investor. Remember, an investor's looking at, rental yields, and investors looking at the cheapest price that you can get into, where when you're flipping properties, it's not necessarily the cheapest price. It's making sure that there's a target market there that you can sell to who is willing to pay a premium.
Yes.
They're probably the most important things. Now,
Yes.
I want to move forward about, I suppose, your best things that you've done, the worst things that you've done, because it's all about learning from mistakes. Can you share with us some of the worst things that you've done which have really set you back as far as getting the best results, and then some of the best things you've done? Because I want our listeners to be able to take away from lessons and from things that have happened in your past and my past, so we don't repeat them ourselves. So your best things, and I want to know your worst things.
Oh, Lord, I feel like I need to sit and think about that for a minute. Okay, best things I would say has been committing a large part of my budget to staging, because at the end of the day, the buyer is buying the dream of living in the product that you're selling. So I think learning from that and trying to skimp out on it earlier days, probably because we just didn't have the money to do it, and now realizing that's a non-negotiable, we have to do it. That's an important one, I think. Worst thing. Oh dear, what's the worst thing? Maybe going back to that original property where we were just being a bit maybe arrogant and saying, oh, someone will buy it. It looks good. And just not picturing ourselves actually wanting to buy that investment or that property. So I think learning to put myself in the buyer's shoes and what they want, that was a hard lesson that we learned. And it cost us, we didn't lose money, but we didn't make as much as we could because we thought, oh, someone will live here, it'll be fine. And that's not the case. People aren't stupid when they buy a property. They're doing all their research. They can see what you bought it for. They can see what you're making on it. So yeah, you got to be clever about that, I guess.
Now, time versus money. And this is the set the scene for you, because again, a lot of questions I get asked is, Jeremy, I'm really struggling to find the best prices. And then sometimes it takes them 6 to 12 months to, buy the property, renovate and flip it. So I know we always want a perfect balance, but it never actually presents itself to be the case. So when you're thinking about time, how quickly you can get the deal done versus money, how cheap you can get the materials or how much price you can bring down on the tradies, what do you place more emphasis on? Getting a deal done quickly or trying to get the best and squeeze absolutely every little bit of juice out of that orange?
Oh, it's absolutely squeezing the orange. That is key, because you've already got the property. So you've already paid all your buying costs, all your stamp duty, etc. So now your job is to get every single last dollar out of that property. Like you cannot leave anything on the table, because when you go to the next one, well, you're just going to have to start again, lay out all of your costs again, all of your expenses, and start again. But I think it goes back to knowing your market as well. And maybe that's the key, why you said, why are you working locally or whatever? Because I can go at any time online looking at the area that I'm specializing in, which is Mudgerba, Talai, Benogan acreage in this part of the Gold Coast hinterland. And I can know instantly if there's money in a deal or not, because I'm so invested in that market that I understand what's selling for a 3 and a 2, what's selling for a 4 and a 2. And maybe that's the key, is not jumping around the country because you found a cheap house over here or derelict house over there, but it's really becoming an expert in the area that you're transacting in so that you can find those deals quickly. And I feel like a lot of people talk themselves out of a deal that is amazing, because really at the end of the day, you're actually just scared and you might not know what you're doing. And it's easier to be scared and say, oh no, that didn't work out, or maybe I'll wait for the next one. Well, the market's moving. So you're either on it, making money, or you're just waiting another 12 months until you find the perfect deal.
It's funny you say that, because when I find I've had some really good purchases in my past, but when I think back to my feeling, when I found that really good property, actually was the property I felt the most nervous about.
Right.
Because you're doing all the numbers and you're triple checking and your gut's turning, but you're looking for something that's wrong. You're saying, this is too perfect. What am I missing? I must be missing something. And I always think back now, moving forward, when I'm buying properties, when I'm getting that feeling again, I know I've made the right decision, because I'm stress testing it and I can't find anything wrong. And, I've got to trust your level of experience. Now, I'm fortunate enough to know, obviously, a lot of the inner workings, Paddy, of how you've been able to divulge, your wealth and how you've built up your property properties and how you've scaled over time. But one thing I can say, and again, this is for anybody that's listening, I've seen it get a lot easier and a lot more efficient, obviously, as you've scaled, but also the prices come down. So can you share just that journey of the start of where things were? You're trying to build a name in the industry to where you are today, where, you are getting some better prices because of the scale, because everyone wants to try to get the best price, the best trade discount straight away, but it's often trying to create the relationships before trying to negotiate price. So do you just want to share that evolution of how you've been able to negotiate prices so well now compared to where you first started, and the importance of relationships?
Do you mean price in terms of buying the property, or materials and trades, etc.?
Materials and trades.
That's a huge one. And relationships are everything. This is a business built on trust and integrity, a really good working relationship with your whole team, not just your trades, but your brilliant accountant, your solicitor, your mortgage broker. It's all about relationships and trust. So for instance, going back to trades, a lot of trades and a lot of homeowners, a lot of trades have been ripped off by homeowners. So they're a little bit sketchy. So we all know that some trades will overquote something. It could even be double what they're quoting a commercial client or a repeat builder or whatever, because they're worried about their time getting wasted. They're worried about not being paid on time, or that it's just going to be a nightmare process because the person doesn't know what they're doing. So when my trades are working with me, they have roughly a 3 months notice period where we're just waiting to settle on a property. They'll have their scope of works. They know what they're doing. They know I'm not messing around. They know when they send me a bill, it's going to be paid on time. And because of this, I could ring up my plasterer right now and he would be at my property in 20 minutes, because we have that trust and he knows how I work. I know how he works. And because of that, I am getting a better rate for the majority of my trades. Well, all of my trades. And I'm getting to the point now where I've got certain people that they want to work with me because it's easy. They know what they're getting into. They know I'm going to make a decision quickly. They know they're in and out in 12 weeks, and then it's on to the next. So there's that trust there. But then also going to materials. I mean, I've got commercial accounts with every supplier that I can. I mean, people that you don't even know, like Harvey Norman, they've got a trade account. Anytime I'm going to buy something, I ring them up. Do you have a trade discount? All the time. So you just have to be clever where you're buying things, who you're talking to, in that relationship that you're building.
So the emphasis is on the relationship probably before the cost.
100%.
In that particular situation. So again, you're out there, you're renovating properties, you're flipping. You guys have to build your team first, and it may cost you a little bit of money at the start, which may mean that the profit's not going to be as ample. But again, seeing Patty's journey over the last numerous amount of years, I've seen her profit margins increase off the back of reduction of cost, and that's moving things quickly. That's getting really good trade discounts, finding really good suppliers that work with you, as well as trades who will drop everything in a dime to be there in a second. So they're important. If you're really trying to go hard on someone you've never met straight away and trying to school them on price,
Lord.
you're not going to get
Who wants to work with someone like that? It's awful.
Not going to get the best cookies.
Yeah.
But obviously,
and everybody knows those are the worst customers that are trying to drill you down every dollar. And you think, but it's funny because on the opposite side, I also have trades that I've worked with for a number of years. And then I start to see some things changing that I'm like, oh, you're starting to take the piss, because you're seeing property after property and you're seeing the profits going up. And now all of a sudden my price is changing. I'm like, no, we're not playing that game. So it's trusting and loving and having that relationship, but also not being silly about it, that there are people who do want to take advantage of you and think that they should be making a piece of your pie, but they don't want to give you the ingredients. So
that's it. Well, I want to do something a little bit different here. I've never done this on What School Should Have Taught You, but because there's just so many important parts of a property, I want to do a bit of a this or that, right?
Oh, I love that.
This or that.
Yes, let's do
it. There's always so many decisions that get made. Where do we drop as much money into in the internal side? So I'm going to just go some really tough ones.
Okay. Oh, I hope I can answer them correctly.
All right, there we go. So we're going to start off with pool or deck. Where would you say
I have to choose one?
Have to choose one or the other. Pool or deck. You've got, let's say roughly they cost the same amount of money. Would you spend your money on a pool to get the best level of return, or a deck?
We're on the Gold Coast, so I'm going to say pool. I think that's better return.
Fireplace or TV unit?
Again, we're in the hinterland. We like warm and cozy. I'm going to say fireplace.
Fireplace. And then I want to ask another one. This is probably going to be the hard one. Would you spend your money on upgrading the bathrooms, or would you try to put more of your budget towards the kitchen?
I have to choose one.
It's got to choose one.
I have to?
Yes. Kitchen.
Yes.
4 bedrooms with a study or a 5-bedroom home?
4-bed and study, absolutely.
Two.
Because, sorry.
Yeah, no, you go. I want to hear this.
I was going to say, because if you stage it as a 4-bed plus study, people can see, okay, you could put that into a bedroom if you want to. But if you stage it as 5 bedrooms, like, oh, where am I going to put my office? It's like, it's right there. You can't see it. So yes, I go for study.
I suppose this is the one I always ask the question on when I'm doing it. Converting a garage into another living room or leaving it as a double garage?
Oh, Lord, these are hard. What would I do? I think I'd go for the second living. Is it the second living?
Second living. So second living area or a multi-purpose room or leaving it as a double car garage?
No, I'm going to go for second living. Because you can always park your cars outside. Putting up a carport is easy. Yeah, if I have to choose, yes.
All right.
Living area.
Now, last one. Would you have? That's actually a controversial one. Oh no, I will say it.
Oh, give me a controversial one. Yes,
I'll give you a controversial one.
Okay.
Low maintenance backyard with lots of concrete, lots of hard surfaces, or having the backyard with grass?
Grass, any day.
Every day of the week.
Because for me, I'm selling to families. That's my target market. And a patch of grass, flat grass, money in the bank.
There you go. So I love that. This or that was good to go through that. Good to go through that with you because when we're renovating properties, and I've been guilty of that, I don't know where I should be spending more of my budget.
Right.
So for, people that are out there listening, again, I've opted to convert garages to multi-living areas just to give a little bit more scope. And, I've spent money on a TV cabinet instead of a fireplace, but I've put more money into a bathroom instead of a kitchen. I've chosen some wrong things, which have, obviously resulted in some really poor results when selling. So it's important to know that when you've got an allocated amount of budget, where should you be allocating that budget to? You can't just have an open checkbook and say, I'm going to be putting 10 grand equally across all the rooms. Sometimes some things within inside the property will require more and some will require less. Now, Patty, I want to leave our viewers with some really good advice from you, being a flipper and obviously a renovation partnership project operator as well. You focusing on the Gold Coast. Why did you focus on the Gold Coast? And I know you've mentioned it's close to you, but what specifically, again, Gold Coast is a very large area for everyone that's listening. You've got your northern, southern parts. Why did you focus on the acreage in the Gold Coast as opposed to, say, more the waterfront properties or canal front properties?
Yes, great question. And it was a strategic decision, but starting from where could we afford? So we didn't always work in the Gold Coast because we couldn't afford it. But then once I started looking at where the prices were going in the Gold Coast compared to, let's say, the Mudgera hinterland region compared to somewhere like Tallabudgera, Currumbin, those more southern hinterland regions that are like double, if not triple the price. So I was seeing what was happening down there and the ripple effect of the prices increasing dramatically down there. And I thought, well, we can't afford that, but we can afford this over here, which is like, it looks the same on paper. It looks the same to look at it. I know it's going to keep growing to that level. So that's why we put our roots down into this area because we know the growth is there compared to what's all around us. Like maybe it's a Bridesmaid suburb.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? So I saw the ripple effect and I thought, well, it's just going to keep reaching here and we need to get in while we can, really.
So the Bridesmaid suburb theory, and again, that's probably a bit of a crossover for investors. As investors, we're always told that sometimes the Bridesmaid suburbs are good places to invest because they will capture some of that growth, from the bride suburb. So it's good to see that there's a bit of a crossover from investing to renovating as well. Patty, it's been amazing to really listen to, where you've done things and also go through my this and that game, and obviously to hear how you've created relationships to build a really successful business, not just for yourself, but for many of the partnership projects that you do as well. But for many of our listeners that are, wanting to get into renovating properties and flipping properties, it's not a mug's game. There's a lot of thought, there's a lot of process that goes behind it. But what are 7 things you could kind of leave anybody wanting to start, renovating properties for profit? What are things that you could give them that they should be considering now before they do it, or they might be in the early stages of their journey?
I think the most important, number one, is you have to educate yourself. So can you do a course? Can you hire someone? Can you go to the library and get some books out? I mean, it doesn't have to be expensive. Like jump on YouTube. There's 100,000 videos on educating yourself on how to do this, either property investing or flipping or interior design, whatever. Like don't stop. And that doesn't end, by the way, whether you're on your first or your 50th property, always educating yourself. So I think always be a learner. That's one. Be realistic as well. When you're first starting out, maybe you can't afford a 4-bedroom house on large property with a pool and this and that. Maybe you can't. Maybe you're not going to make 500 grand on your first flip, but maybe you'll make 20 and that's pretty good. And then maybe you'll make 50 on the next one. And as you're learning, you're able to make more and you're putting that money back in your kitty and you're progressing. So I think that's a good one. Do what you can. So that kind of goes into the next one. Don't be scared. So do what you can with what you have. Be a bit gritty about it. Be resourceful, and just maybe you can't do like what Jeremy said, top to bottom every room, but maybe you can make a few rooms really special that connect with a buyer. So that's that one. Go to a lot of open homes. I reckon that's a good, I mean, you can get free information from agents. Anytime you go to an open home, what's selling, what are people looking for, what are the buyers that are at that open home that are maybe your potential buyers, like listen in on the conversations, what are they hating, loving, and that goes back to educating yourself, like get into the agent's head on their email list. That one. What's next? Become an expert in your area so that when a good property does pop up, you can act on it fast. And that is really key. Like, don't sit around. If you know it's a good deal because you've done your research, you've educated yourself, you've gone to open homes, you need to jump in and get the deal done. Like, don't sit around and wait for it. And the last one is know your market. So meaning know the market you're selling to, your buyers. So what do they love? Do they love flat patches of grass? Do they want pools? Because then that makes those decisions, like this or that Jeremy said, it's effortless. So if you know your market so well, you know that they prioritize a pool over a deck or grass over concrete or a fireplace over a TV. So once you know your market, those decisions become really easy because they're in your head and you're in theirs, and you're just making something that is then easily sellable.
I love it. I love it. And I know the hard work you've gone through over your many years of doing this, you know, making your 10 to 15 grand and breaking even. And then obviously where you are now, you know, producing some of the most beautiful properties in the Gold Coast hinterland.
Thank you.
And things that, you know, it takes a lot of art, a lot of time to craft your skills, to know exactly what, you know, the tastes that are out there for the particular time. I think that's important. People need to treat this as a business, and you need to give the market what it wants, or the market you're aiming to sell to what it wants.
Yes.
Patty, I would love to thank you for joining us today on What School Should Have Taught You. I think it's been brilliant to understand a lot more about how it works and how you've been able to successfully grow your, you know, property flipping business. And I know that you do run two sides of Glennon Properties. And if you want to reach out to Patty and Ben, you can reach out to them on their website, glennonproperties.com.au. Will be at the bottom of this YouTube video, or if you listen to us on iTunes and Spotify, you'll be able to see that in the body or context of the podcast. Now, I know, Patty, you do a lot of property consultancy as well as renovation partnerships. There's a bit of two sides to your business. So if you can use Patty as a consultant, she can give you all the things that you need to know to be successful in your next property flip, or you can definitely get involved with her as a partnership. I know that she's done that quite a bit with clients I know, mutual clients, and they've done really, really well over the years. So Patty, thank you once again for your time. It's been brilliant. I hope to see your next deal. I've got a little bit of editing to do with this particular video, but I think a couple of your properties will pop up on the screen as we talk. So
how good.
Really exciting to share with all the viewers, you know, some of the really great stuff that you've done. And anyone who wants to see some of your projects, it's on glennonproperties.com.au. Thank you again, Patty. Have a lovely day.
Jeremy.
Thank you, everybody,
You
for listening.
too. That was so fun. Thank you.